I'm Ryan Newman, and since I started with Indiana Donor Network and Driven to Save Lives, I found out that some people think that they can't be an organ donor. The truth is, anyone can sign up to be an organ donor.
Anyone?
Anyone?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Anyone can sign up to be an organ donor. So don't count yourself out because somebody's counting on you. Go to driventosavelives.org and sign up today.
But my heart's going to you, Ryan.
Love that shirt.
Here at TWRS, we're always here to help our squad when they need a little push in the right direction. That's just who we are. We're a beautifully diverse group of goofballs dedicated to driving fake race cars as fast as possible. And we continue to push each other to the front using the power of nonsense. We have one of the strongest NASCAR programs on the service, and you can access it all for $24.99 a month. And we just released individual subscriptions for $14.99 a month for each NASCAR vehicle. We also just added a rallycross program, and our IndyCar program is taking off as well. So come join the weird side. We have speed and cookies. Cookies are not included in some locations.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Another night of iRacing action here on the National Racing Network, where tonight it will be the stars and cars of the TNT Shock Series running their season finale from the artist formerly known as Gateway, Worldwide Technology Raceway, located in Madison, Illinois. Will Power holds the track record here at 23 seconds. These guys aren't going to be close to that tonight, but the racing might just be better than what you see out of the IndyCars, which is really saying something because the IndyCars put on a great show here. My name is Chris Graham. I'm joined in the booth, as always, by the Bizzler, Mr. Patrick Byrne. And I'll tell you what, Bizzle, as we get ready to wrap up a season here, great look at the cars on pit lane, and he may not even be here. He's doing the driver's meeting right now. He's doing double duty as race control. Here. Okay, so he's here. He's race control and color commentator. This place is kind of like a Daytona Talladega for the PM18s. We can expect pack racing at one end of the racetrack down the straightaways. The odds of a 3 or 4 wide finish are not out of the question. Really, really exciting race coming up here tonight.
Yeah, these guys always put on a fantastic show at this track. I mean, with turn 1 and 2 being just a little bit tighter, you got to breathe the throttle, or it's just like Phoenix where you're going to drive into that outside wall. Turns 3 and 4, almost flat out, but that turn is also pretty flat, so you do have to breathe the throttle a little bit. So while these guys are definitely pack racing, there's still a little bit of driver skill by yourself you have to be good at as well. It's not like a Daytona or Talladega where you can compensate with a lack of skill with the draft of the other cars. You still have to be good.
Well, and that could come into play tonight because Chris Hill has not been very confident over the last 2 weeks of the season, but he is your championship leader by a very small margin over James Watson. James trying to defend his title. He won 1 season ago. This would be the first championship for Chris Hill. There's a lot that's going to come into play tonight because if Chris Hill stays where he is in 10th, that's not going to do it, even with a 29, 28-point lead that he has entering tonight.
Yeah, it's definitely going to come down to either Chris Hill's going to win this or James Watson might be able to claw back. Definitely some point stories to talk about as well.
Well, we are down to the last 10 seconds or so of practice. Brian Labarge is your quickest of the lap time of 30.533 seconds. James Watson, second quick, only 4/100ths of a second back. He ran a 571. AJ Camargo, a 579. He's 5/100ths of a second back. Drujin Wang is fourth, and let's go back to sixth place, West Shire. He's a 10th of a second back. Absolutely insane how tight this field is. Even some of the names that we saw last week that were a little bit oddballs. I mean, we had weirdness at the end of the race last week. The caution just kind of worked out very late in that race where drivers were able to duck in, take the second or two of fuel that they needed to reach the finish. And all of a sudden, we ended up with a really interesting race on our hands. Could we see the same thing here tonight, Bizzle, or do you think we might see something a little bit different? He's talking, but he forgot to hit the button. Maybe not. Anyway.
There it goes.
Oh, there he goes.
This button seems to be kind of intermittent. For all of our viewers at home who are not in the TNT server, I am using a Nintendo 64 controller for this, so definitely some quirks that can come up with 90s technology, but... Yeah, Gateway always has the possibility of being just a single file, follow the leader, very fuel mileage race, as we've seen once or twice in the past. But usually Gateway is just a balls out, full send. You never know what's going to happen. The guy who's leading on lap 1 could be in 10th place on lap 2 and could be leading again on lap 3. So there's just no telling what's going to happen here tonight.
Yeah, we'll take a look here as first car across the line to set a lap. Drew Bernardi, 31.189, 30.981 seconds for Brian Labarge on lap number 1. Let us know in the comments, by the way, who's your pick? Is it James Watson to win a championship tonight? Is Chris Hill going to take his first TNT Shock Series championship? Watson wanted this for so long, and the exaltation we heard from him one season ago was pretty incredible. But it's different when you're defending a championship. You're the guy with the target on your back, as Brian Labarge is going to pick up that target right now with a 2-lap average of 30.726 seconds. The AJ Camargo up to second quick on the leaderboard. And let's see. Now it's going to be Chris Hill to the top of the charts, 30.710. He's showing the speed in qualifications. Oh, baby, we'll have to see if it's going to continue on into the race, though. Daniel Miglin getting ready to come around. He's working off of turn number 2. Let's pick up Ben Carswell. We haven't seen Ben in a while. We haven't been able to make fun of him for the Jimmy Johnson paint schemes or Jimmy Johnson wrecking out a bunch or Jimmy Johnson only winning 3 championships under the actual Winston Cup Series format. Good to have Ben back in the race car, though, piloting that lucky number 48. He is the world's biggest Jimmy Johnson fan, after all. Lap number 1 on the board for Carswell, 30.945. Lap number 2, 30.980. Carswell going to be up to third quick, 30.979. The average of the 2 laps for Ben Carswell. Good run for Ben. Pick up James Watson working lap number 2. His first lap, 31.074. Daniel Miglin moving up into the 6th position on the grid, actually 5th. This is our 2 different timing screens thing, and I don't remember which one is the good one or not. Watson over the line to complete lap number 2, and he will go third quick. Hill and Labarge separated by 2/100ths of a second. Watson either going to be third or fourth on the starting grid as we're down to the final 60 seconds of qualifying. Take a look. Drujin Wang, he is on the racing surface as well. "17 cars making up the entry list here tonight. Still waiting to see attempts from West Shire, Justin Elliott. They are not on the racing surface yet. Drujin Wang, Dave Sparks, Peter Donchak are out on the track. Drujin Wang, lap number 2. Good lap. He's going to be up to third quick on the leaderboard. Take a look now as Dave Sparks going to come off of turn number 4 into double O. Sparks across the line, 31, low 31s for both of his laps. Will slot Dave Sparks up into position number 9. Here's Wes Shire. Oh, baby, he is way loose. Off of turn number 4, and he was able to get the car woed up. So Wes Shire will have a chance to maybe do some adjustments here and come screaming around, but he's out of time. Qualifications are over. It is time to go racing here in the TNT Shock Series season finale from Worldwide Technology Raceway.
So I figured out the quirks. Just some more ATVO quirks. If I have ATVO focused, my push-to-talk in Discord doesn't work. But if I have iRacing or Discord focused, it works like a charm. So ATVO, just being a hog as usual.
Yes, I was just going to say, ATVO does not play nice with others. Fantastic software, but does not play nicely with other pieces of software. So, getting ready to see the field out onto the grid, and let's take a look at your starting lineup for tonight's TNT Shock Series finale. Starting on the pole with a 2-lap average of 30.770 seconds, it is your championship leader, the 101 of California's Chris Hill. Lining up to the outside, the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory Team Watson Racing setups number 8 of Brian LaBarge. Row number 2, Drujin Wang in the number 81. Alongside of Ben Carswell in the Team Watson Racing Setups National Racing Network, number 48. James Watson in the Team Watson Racing Setups National Racing Network, CAS Designs, number 39. Other championship contender for tonight, starting on the inside of row number 3. To his outside, the Team Watson Racing Setups National Racing Network, number 59 of Brazil's Nietzsche Camargo. Drew Bernardi, the Team Watson Racing Setups, number 86 out of the Mid-South, inside of the 4th row. To the outside will be the number 24, Stephen C. Thompson, your winner 1 week ago in not necessarily a controversial finish, but there was some rules discussions that maybe we'll get into here tonight. The double O of Dave Sparks lining up inside of row number 5, and on the outside, the triple nickel of Daniel Miglin. Vic Aldrich in the Dizzy V Designs, number 98, inside of row number 6. To his outside, the 21 of Mike Long. Row number 7, Simon Fell in the TNT Shock Series, number 256. Alongside of the Homestead Coffee Roaster Schaefer Oil Cannon Cameras, number 16 of New York's West Shire. Peter Dodchak in the Caterham, number 13. Alongside of Murray Damon in the 60. Justin Elliott in the throwback Williams livery, rounding out the field. They make their way through turns 3 and 4. We are going to get ready to go racing one more time here for the TNT Shock Series. And as always, start of this one's going to be all yours. Hot and heavy throughout the field here. Watson, oh man, very tight with Camargo down the backstretch as they get towards turn number 3. And Bizzle, Watson knows he has to get to the front here. He has no choice but to finish ahead of Chris Hill and potentially finish ahead of Chris Hill by several positions.
Yeah, I believe he was saying that he has to finish on the top spot and Chris Hill has to finish off of the podium, which is going to be very difficult to do, especially with how consistent and good Chris Hill's been all season long.
Yeah, and Gateway has proven to be a place where you can catch the leader. You can't necessarily pass the leader. And that's something that it's going to kind of take LaBarge and Watson, maybe even Ben Carswell to make that move. But here comes Watson looking inside of LaBarge. He's got the position at the start-finish line. But James Watson up to P2 as Wes Shire goes new fastest lap. 30.770. They're running qualifier laps here. 50 minutes is the distance on this race, Patrick. And based on what we saw 1 week ago, they could probably go about 22 minutes or so. They would need caution flag help to make it to halfway. Potentially even 2 yellow flags.
Yeah, Gateway is a super wide open track. It's not like some of the other tracks we run where there's a lot of off throttle time. Here, it's mostly on throttle. And nearly contact there in the 3rd position.
Yeah, Miglin and LaBarge nearly getting together in the middle of turns 1 and 2 that time. And Patrick he's watching kind of a different view. I don't know that he even has the broadcast feed up here.
I do, but it's way in my peripheral.
So he's watching. Let's talk about this a little bit. You're doing race control tonight, so you're going to be able to talk about the race, but there is a lot of you're watching for incidents to happen. You have timing and scoring screens up, incident screens up, and you're looking for where the incidents might be happening and deciding if we have to go yellow. That was a big thing throughout the whole season, but last week specifically, a late race caution flag absolutely dictated the outcome of the event.
Yeah, I am in charge. This is very, very nerve-wracking for me, just because normally during these races, I drink a beer, I'm sitting, relaxing, talking about pretend race cars. Right now, I am as focused as these drivers, just watching every move they make and knowing that if my thumb hits this big red button at the center of the controller, I can throw off the whole course of this race and championship.
Yeah, and the championship battle is one that can't be undersold. Chris Hill has been a master of fuel strategy at times. As Daniel Miglin looks inside of Watson for P2, he'll get the job done. Oh, baby, almost got up into Hill. He carried a ton of speed through the middle of turns 1 and 2 that time. Miglin's a little bit of a wild card here too, Bizzle. So known to be very, very aggressive by these drivers. If you're James Watson, do you kind of just have to say, I'm good. I don't need to play right now?
Absolutely. Watson is a very emotional driver, and tonight is a night where he really has to use his head, especially when he sees these top 2 fighting this hard. If Miglin takes Chris Hill out right here, that's going to punt them down the 15th, 16th, 17th. All Watson has to do then is keep that car on the top spot, keep his nose clean, and he not only has a fighting chance, but an incredibly good chance of winning this championship. Yeah. So Watson's got to drive with his head.
Watson does not. If Chris Hill has an issue as Miglin takes the lead through 3 and 4, if Chris Hill has an issue, Watson could finish as low as 6th or 7th and still potentially win the championship. Now, Justin Elliott was a did not start in this race, so only 16 cars making the start tonight. That does change the calculus ever so slightly for Watson. But if Chris Hill has a problem, Watson knows, hey, I don't have to fight at all to win the championship.
Yes, Watson's a driver who's had a handful of troubles this season so far, so he knows that trouble can happen very, very quickly. We have some chatter going along across some of the drivers a little bit further back in the field. A couple drivers arguing about just take the spot, don't race me that hard. And that's a big conversation you need to have with your fellow drivers this early in the race. You don't need to be racing like it's the last lap.
Oh, man, battle for the lead starting to heat back up. Hill had the peak inside of Miglin off at turn number 4. Here comes Drujin Wang looking inside of Brian LaBarge through 1 and 2. LaBarge going to keep up the momentum on the high side of the racetrack. And these guys are getting so close to that outside wall on the exit of 2. If this race runs without issue, I say that knocking on wood, one of the big keys to this thing is going to be getting on and off a pit lane. It is a very, very long pit lane here at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Drivers have to enter the pit lane basically at the entrance of turn number 3. You'll see it just here in the bottom left corner of your screen. where that pit access lane starts, right there. Now on the left side, it's a long way to go on a very flat part of the racetrack. You don't have a lot of stability down there. But getting on and off a pit road fast will be the key if we have green flag pit stops tonight.
Yes, there's no speed limit on those access roads, and it's not so much that there's a long pit road here, it's just those incredibly long access roads. And we have a single car spinning down the backstretch, keeps it in the grass. Now, as race control, it's my discretion, we're keeping it clean and green.
Yep, Drew Bernardi with a spin exiting turn number 2. Take a look at it here on the NRN replay. All by himself down to the inside, and looked like the car just stepped around on him. Nice piece of driving by Dave Sparks to miss that one. Bernardi gets the car stopped, and we stay under green flag conditions as Chris Hill going to look for the race lead.
Watson sliding up the racetrack a little bit, has Brian Labarge right up his rear gearbox now.
Yeah, that was a great move by Drew Jin Wang to go with Chris Hill. Now Ben Carswell inside of Miglin. Watson right there back behind. A little further back, you're going to have Shire, Camargo, and Fell. So the top 10 cars. Oh, and what goes around? That's Drew Jin Wang. Caution is out. Yellow flag is out. 41:50 remaining on the clock. And James Watson may have gotten a piece of that.
I was a little jumpy on the button there. I could have kept that one clean. These drivers, both of them, saved the car.
Big twitch. Oh, Watson
just barely gets a tag, but I think that car might be okay. Both cars saved it.
Yeah, I'm going to guess, and let's see here. We'll go on board with James Watson. Taking a look at this replay again. Oh, man, I don't know. I think he may have gotten away with it.
Every car looks to be coming down pit road right now. Every single one of them. 10 minutes into this, 9 minutes into this race even.
Yeah, I think you're kind of in that window where you know you're going to, if you're going to have to make 2 stops, a minimum of 2 stops, getting fuel last week proved to be huge for these drivers, topping off at the 1 to go signal. We may even see that here tonight, but all of your leaders making their way down pit lane. In fact,
now, as a broadcaster,
pit lane.
Are you critical of that caution flag, or would you have thrown the caution there too?
I think you had too many cars that were coming quickly. I'm not against that caution flag being thrown.
When I saw the first car spinning, I was ready to hit the button, and then I saw Watson tag him, and I said, this is going to be carnage. Right when Watson tagged him, I hit the button, and somehow both cars saved it. That was pretty incredible.
Well, that's exactly it. When you have one car spinning by themselves, like we saw with Drew Bernardi, single car spin, nobody else was impacted by the spin, keep it green. As soon as you have multiple cars involved, I think it's a fair thing to say go yellow, unless they're all like way off the racetrack or something. And Watson was still moving. If he had come back on the racetrack and spun in front of the field, that potentially could have been a mess. So I don't hate that caution flag call. As Daniel Miglin, the first car off of pit lane, 4.7 seconds the stop for Miglin. Pit lane time 30.1. A little bit faster than Chris Hill. Very nice, 6.9 seconds stop for Hill, 32.3 seconds on pit lane. And that 2.2 seconds is exactly the difference between Miglin getting off pit road versus Chris Hill in the race lead. Brian Labarge will come out third, followed by James Watson, Wes Shire, Nia J. Camargo, Simon Fells, Stephen C. Thompson, Dave Sparks, and Ben Carswell back into the 10th position. Carswell, 37.3 seconds on pit lane, 11.6. I think Carswell may have overshot the box, having to shake off the rust a little bit here. Drew Jin Wang, 27.4 seconds stop to repair some damage. He is back on the racing surface. Drujin Wang, though, the big loser on this one, losing 13 positions from where he started inside of row number 2. Daniel Miglin, Wes Shire, your hard chargers of the race as we get ready to go back to green with 38 minutes and 10 seconds on the clock. Pace car is in. Miglin holding down to the inside. This is a little bit of an oddball strategy here from Miglin. And he's just going to wait. Now he goes full Colton Herta on the start. Miglin able to hold the race lead. He's going to have about a quarter of a second by the time they get to turn 1.
I don't know how to rule that. I didn't write anything that was against the rules, and I'm going to say that's good, but
he waited until the starter went green.
Yeah, he went in the start zone and everything. I mean, I can't fault it.
No, I think the only thing that was kind of screwy about it was just the line that he took is, oh, baby, we're 2 and 3 wide now off of turn number 4 that time. And that's the danger of it. The stack up is maybe a problem. But the way he ran that first lap so high up by the outside wall, that stacked up the entire pack of leaders. And that's how we ended up 3 wide at the start-finish line.
Yeah, I'm going to say there was no incident from that. That's fine, but, you know, if it caused an incident doing that, I might have to enforce something. I don't know if I can or not. Nothing was said about it at the driver's meeting, so. If any of our drivers are listening, just use your head, please.
Give him the old Brian Barnhart. Just start yelling at them mid-race.
I forgot that's an option. It's been so long since I did race directing up at Hamlin Speedway that just yelling at the drivers is always an option.
Yeah. So long as you're not asking them for 4 good ones when we still have about 69 laps to go. Hill and Miglin continue to run side by side for the lead. Interesting how high they are to the wall there. Miglin able to keep it up and battle with Hill. Wes Shire ran a very similar line, and he just went nowhere with it.
Wes Shire talking about in the pre-race, actually using the baseline iRacing setup.
I find that hard to believe. Oh, man, wow, things are getting tight up here. Labarge looking inside a Hill. They were squirrely at the front. Oh, man, Labarge slides ever so slightly up the racetrack. Oh, there's contact! Big contact! Labarge and Miglin, caution flag is out! Oh, and a big hit for Murray Damon as well. 35 and a half minutes left to go, and Daniel Miglin and Brian Labarge make huge contact. Wes Shire also got a piece of that as well. Multiple drivers with meatball flags, meaning they have to come down the pit lane. Let's take a look. We'll actually go back to the live look here and see. We'll see who's going to come down pit lane as well. Actually, Miglin and Hill also picked up incident points the lap before. But let's go to the replay here. That's where Hill, Miglin, and Labarge all picked up incident points there down the front straightaway. Labarge started to slide up the racetrack. Miglin maybe came down a little. Big contact for Wes Shire as well. Man, Miglin went for a wild ride.
If I could ask for an... could we get a drone cam of Brian Labarge's car? Just trying to rule on this one. I fortunately do not have replay controls up here in race control.
Yeah, I got you here, buddy. Let's see. Let's do this one. Now this is exiting again back onto the front straightaway.
So Miglin gets into the rear of Hill.
Everybody's squared up at this point, though.
Brian Labarge gets a little squirrely, comes up. Miglin comes down and just huge netcode there. He still had tons of clearance. I don't know if I could rule that as anything other than a racing incident. I mean, it really sucks for Brian Labarge there. Miglin definitely came down a bit, but especially from my point of view, he still had a ton of room left to go, and just the netcode god said, nope, your cars are the size of buses right now.
2 races in a row and back-to-back seasons at Gateway.
Yeah, Brian Labarge joining us up here in the booth. Tough way to end the season, Brian. It stinks. From what Patrick was just saying, it sounds like it was a netcode deal.
Yeah, from my car, the replay was, it was exactly that. There was definitely a car's width worth of room on that side. There had been a car's width of room pretty much the entire time, but for whatever reason, that particular instance, it just decided to throw me to the wall because there was enough there. So
yeah, it almost looked like Daniel maybe got up towards the wall, and that was the start of it, because his car snapped left, almost like it got up into the wall and bounced off of it, which we've seen before. And then from there, once you're in netcode land that way, everybody else is just out of luck.
it is. So unfortunately, it's unfortunate way for this particular season to end. There's a lot of people that got caught up on that one. So I hope that the remaining 20-something minutes is exciting. I'll leave it back.
Yeah, buddy. Well, thank you much, sir. We appreciate it. As Fields off at turn number 4, green flag goes back in the air. Chris Hill leading James Watson. Hill right where he needs to be.
All Hill needs to do is finish ahead of Watson, and he doesn't even have to finish in front of Watson. He just can't fall too far behind Watson. So for both of these drivers, there's no reason for them to race each other super hard unless Watson's intention is to crash Chris Hill out of this race, which never goes well. Usually you crash yourself out if you do that.
Yeah, we saw a bump and run executed exactly once successfully in these cars. I think it was Wes Shire on Jason Owens. And it was spectacular, but highly not recommended as Watson goes around Hill into 1.
Yeah, Hill doing exactly what he needs. Hill does not have to win this race. Let Watson by. Don't fight him too hard for the spot. He's going to go to the inside here in turns 3 and 4 and try and take it back. There's no reason to go absolutely throwing dive bombs like it's the last lap. Just keep your head on yourself, finish 1 spot or 2 spots behind him, and you'll be A-okay.
Yeah, it almost looked like Hill kind of threw a little bit of a slide job there. Watson having to check up at the exit of turn 4 that time. But this battling is allowing the AJ Camargo to come back into the picture. Ben Carswell, last week's winner, Stephen C. Thompson. Drew Jin Wang, how about this recovery? He's back up to the 6th position. As Watson again looks inside of Hill.
Huge slider there, and Hill's going to come back with the crossover.
And of note, none of the leaders came down pit lane that time. I don't know that a pit stop there would have made sense. You took enough fuel, you took a full tank of fuel at the last stop. So a stop where we were under the caution flag would not have gotten you anywhere near the finish. Now, the only thing it might have done would have set up that alternate fuel strategy like we saw out of these guys last week.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's a good move here at Gateway. You almost want to pit with the pack, almost like a Daytona or Talladega.
Drew Jin Wang side by side with Ben Carswell in the battle for the 4th position. Oh, Carswell tried to come down, chop that line off. Good move. Carswell going to be able to hold on to the position that time by the start-finish line. Of note, the top 6 have really broken away from the rest of the field. It's 1.6 seconds from Stephen C. Thompson back to Vic Aldrich in 7th. Simon Fell right behind Aldrich, but then it's another 2 seconds back to Murray Damon, Dave Starks, Drew Bernardi, Mike Long. All of those drivers, I believe, with some form of damage here tonight.
There is not a driver in the top 4 without 4 incident points. 5th place, James Watson. Or excuse me, my timing and scoring is all sorts of screwed up.
Oh, big contact down the backstretch. Camargo into Carswell. And we go yellow once again. Stephen C. Thompson got a piece of that as well. Second big incident of the night, and this time it's going to be Ben Carswell involved in this one.
Major carnage going on here at Gateway tonight.
Yeah,
and this is all bad news for James Watson. The more cars that take themselves out of this race right now means if Chris Hill has an issue, he's not going to fall that far back.
Oh, big hit for Stephen C. Thompson on the inside wall. I think Drujin Wang may have gotten away with that one. Wang running in the 3rd position is there. You see the pile of race cars on pit lane. And here come your race leaders down pit lane for their second stop at the 27-minute mark. This stop I'm good with because we're right about to halfway. It sets up the potential for what we saw 1 week ago. And maybe we should consider rehashing what the rule is on that. There was some discussion in the post-race about cars stopping under a quickie yellow. That really was a big deal because, oh man, great battle out of pit lane as Watson's going to have the lead. Dave Sparks staying on the racetrack, so he will be your race leader, but Watson winning the race off of pit lane. When the quickie yellow procedure happens inside of 5 minutes to go, pit lane is closed. You cannot take service at that point. Is that correct?
That is correct. The pits are completely closed except for emergency service. If you need to top off fuel, unfortunately you are going to get that penalty and you are going to be in the back of the field. At least you're going to finish the race. Other than that, you cannot pit under that quickie yellow.
So, where that becomes an issue potentially for these drivers is Dave Sparks heads to pit lane. If you can get 22 minutes out of the fuel tank, it puts you down to about 3 minutes to go in the race. So these drivers are going to have to watch the clock. And the scenario exists where you go, everybody has to come down pit lane. That kind of makes you wonder, how do things shake out here? Because that definitely could be a thing here late in this race.
Yeah, and we are approaching halfway, about 15 seconds from it, so still going to need another stop to make it to the end unless we get another yellow. Still looks like...
Yes, it still looks like. James Watson did win the race off of pit road. 7.4 seconds stop, 32.5 on pit lane. Vic Aldrich, a lightning fast stop, only 5.6 seconds, 4.7 for Simon Fell. Murray Damon, he was caught up in an earlier incident. He's back up to the 4th position. Nice recovery drive there. Of note, Chris Hill is in position number 6. That is not good enough to claim the championship here tonight. At least I don't think so, with James Watson being in the race lead. Chris Hill, 34.2 seconds on pit lane, 8.9 in the box. So potentially a little miscue of hitting the box and then likely taking 4 tires. You have to wonder, Bizzle, did some of these drivers with the short stops, did they not take tires here thinking they'll take them later in the race, while everybody else who took tires now says, I'm going to go to the end and just take a splash of fuel?
Yeah, I am not sure. Now, obviously, it wasn't a full fill of fuel these drivers took. So on a full fill of fuel, there's no disadvantage taking tires. It takes just about the same exact amount of time. It might be a 1/10 of a second or so. But I can see some drivers not taking tires and waiting to the end. I just don't see why you would. I'd want my best set at the end. And these tires tend to get the best when they're the most worn in. So I think I would take tires now, and this would be my last tire stop.
Well, we'll see how it shakes out here over the rest of this race. Inside halfway, 23 minutes, 15 seconds remaining in tonight's season finale for the fall TNT Shock Series season. Yeah, Nieje Camargo checking in the comments here. Nieje says we get ready to go back to green. iRacing netcode leaving no survivors today. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. And he's saying he would not have changed tires as we go back to green flag racing. So interesting having the commentary coming in from some of the drivers that were in this race, checking in on the broadcast. Is Watson able to open up a little bit of a gap here on Vic Aldrich? Of note, with the attrition levels that we've seen, Chris Hill is going to have some work to do. Already battling with Drujin Wang through 3 and 4. Hill has to get himself up basically back onto the podium here. And this may not be an easy task.
No, these are some of the best in the field and some of our longtime TNT guys that are up here in the top 5. So, going to be a lot of work to get by these guys and get himself back on a podium spot. He's fast, but I don't know that he's going to be able to get by all these cars without absolutely wrecking his equipment.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is you're going to spend 4 or 5 laps potentially trying to get the pass made. And now with only 10 cars remaining on the racetrack, the top 9 all on the lead lap, plus 13th place Peter Donchak. Ben Carswell is listed as out of the race, as is Nieje Camargo, Stephen C. Thompson, Daniel Miglin, Brian Lavarge, West Shire. They're still on pit lane, but upwards of 14 minutes of repairs as Hill finally able to clear Wang through 3 and 4. Battle heating up just ahead here, too, right behind James Watson. Simon Fell up into P2, Aldrich and Damon battling. These guys using the draft to their benefit have caught right back up to the back end of James Watson. He's able to open up again about that quarter of a second gap, call it 4 car lengths as they head to turn 1. We talk about the draft a lot here, Bizzle, and these cars they're not quite, stock cars that are going to punch this massive hole in the air. But for the downforce to power ratio that these cars have, the draft is absolutely huge in these cars.
It is massive, and I had the privilege of driving a Radical earlier this year, and they make similar power to these, maybe a little bit more, the SR3s do. But the downforce is huge, and it's like stuck to the ground. And when following behind another car, be it a sports car, a normal sedan, or even another Radical, the amount of just like suction you get and just pull from the lack of air in the draft is insane.
Oh, Chris Hill with a big move there on Murray Damon. Damon had to back out. Going to put Hill up into position number 3. He slides up the racetrack, exiting 2. Big contact. Drujin Wang goes for a spin down to the inside. It looks like we may stay green. Your top 6 battle is now the top 5. Chris Hill back onto the podium, doing what he needs to do to claim the championship. Murray Damon very nearly in another big incident here tonight. Aldrich and Hill running side by side. Bizzle, let me know if you need to see a replay on any of that, because we'll get one of those queued up for you.
If you could write down the lap number.
That'd be 45. Sounds like there may be a post-race review of things. Chris Hill back up into the second position now, able to clear Vic Aldrich. Vic having another really good run here tonight. Saw him up on the podium 1 week ago, trying to close out the year with back-to-back podiums, but Simon Fell going to have to peek inside as they get to turn 3. Interesting to ask Chris Hill late in this race that lap 45 move that was really, really big. Did he feel like that already we're down into crunch time and that was a move that had to be made?
I don't know that we're quite in the crunch time, but definitely want to get myself back up where I need to be to lock in this championship. Definitely a sketchy move. I'm not sure I would have made it this early in the race, but I can definitely feel where he feels the pressure.
Of note, we are approaching the longest stint of the race for some of these drivers. Longest I see on the timing and scoring screens, 18 laps for Chris Hill, James Watson, also Vic Aldrich, Drew Bernardi, Drew Jin Wang. As Chris Hill gets around James Watson, and let's see, interesting call here by Seahawks Nate. The 101 cleared himself in my eyes. Yeah, it was kind of one of those, like, I might not be totally clear, but I am, because I said so, and you're going to get out of my way.
Definitely some words exchanged over the radio on that incident. I will add that.
Watson back inside of Hill. He gets the pass cleared. Here comes Hill looking back inside. Nothing there that time by the start-finish line. James Watson back to the race lead. It has been your championship contenders for most of this race at the front of the field. Watson with 20 laps led. Chris Hill with 19 laps led. Of note, Daniel Miglin, he also led 11 laps here this evening, but he will finish in the 16th position. Dave Sparks also picking up a lap led under caution. The reason I brought up the stint length here, Bizzle, is this is about where we started to see some drivers getting loose. We saw Drew Jin Wang spin, Drew Bernardi spun. Maybe that window is only 18 to 20-ish laps of the tires being any good. But now we don't have as many cars to potentially be impacted by a spin, and you may not get a yellow if somebody spins.
Yeah, I was thinking I should have thrown it there when JJ Wang was spinning, and by the time I was about to hit the button, he was already clear of the field. So with less cars on track, I don't think I'm going to be hitting the button any much more here in this race unless this top 5 pack makes a big caution. Watching these 3 cars behind them, this little gaggle that's going on, as long as they keep it clean and green, and if they wreck, they don't block the track, I don't think a caution's going to be thrown there either.
Well, and we'll go back here, look at Drew Bernardi, Dave Sparks, and Mike Long. These guys are 6, 7, 8 on the speedway, and they're basically doing what the guys at the front are. Yeah, good action, but well behaved. So now your question becomes, when do your leaders have to make their final pit stop?
And Drew Bernardi spinning down the backstretch.
Bernardi going to be a single car spin. would imagine, Bizzle, probably very similar to what we saw earlier in the race. But again, single car spin down to the inside. It's not going to bring a caution flag out here and kind of change how this race could play out, because it's not just the long access roads, but even the mental mistake, not getting the car down the pit road speed limit, getting off the pit road speed limit or the button too early, all those little things can come into play, and that changes the outcome of the race more than or as much as seeing a caution flag for a solo spin.
Yeah, it's very, very easy to have a mess up by yourself, especially being only 5-6 cars in this gaggle up front. It's very easy to start playing mental chess and start defeating yourself, really, overthinking every move you make.
Take a look at our hard chargers list. Murray Damon up 11 positions from where he started this race. Simon Felt up 10. Vic Aldrich up 7. Mike Law and Peter Donchak also cracking the top 5 list. Of your hard chargers, I would almost tend to think we're going to see these drivers hold out as long as possible until the 5-minute mark. Nate, I see the comment. Interview Murray afterwards. He's got to get on the podium. He gets up on the podium, we're going to talk to Murray. Although at the rate this race is going, we might be talking to all the survivors.
I don't think so. I think they're keeping it pretty clean and green for now. I mean, just over 10 minutes left to go. It's definitely getting the crunch time. If you want to make a move, you're going to have to make it soon.
Yeah, I have to think the move is coming sometime quickly here as we see Simon Fell making the dive inside of Chris Hill. Not quite able to get the pass completed.
Definitely letting him know he's there, though. And this puts the pressure on Chris Hill now, taking the dive to the inside of James Watson.
Yeah, one of those, I'm not going to get taken out in the incident of somebody pushing. So now Simon Fell still inside of James Watson as they get to turn 1. Watson really with a big run into the corner. Oh man, things are tight there off of turn number 2. And now Watson gonna have the look inside. Takes the draft help. Try to propel himself up to the lead. And now, Patrick, you have to wonder if you take the penalty for stopping under a quickie yellow, you're only going to go back to 9th. Maybe worth it to take the risk? Or do you feel like you have to cover the leader? And if you're Chris Hill, do you have to short pit? Because the problem is if you pit and the caution does come out, you're right about a lap down. The pit lane time is about 30 seconds, and we're turning about 30-second laps.
Watson looked like he thought about coming to the pits there this lap.
Now your top 5 still separated by about 2/10 as they get past the start-finish line. But they were 2 by 2. Hill and Fell side by side, Damon and Watson side by side. Vic Aldrich with the best seat in the house for the battle. "32 laps on the stint thus far. That's about 16 minutes. So these drivers could theoretically go another 5 or so, but that puts you inside the window of the Quickie Yellow. Great battle here for the lead. Oh, and Simon Fell goes around. Fell spins inside. He's off the racetrack. Murray David taking a shot at Chris Hill for the lead. Really feels like the exit of turn 2 is becoming the trouble spot for these drivers tonight. Westshire checking into the Discord. This is one of the races of all time. You know what? I am going to say this has been a pretty darn good race. Because at this point, we don't know whose tires are going to last. Who's going to have that little self-spin off of 2. And when does the strategy card finally get played? Damon again looks inside a Hill to 3. And Bisley, you've talked a fair bit about this, but Gateway is kind of Darlington in shape. It's kind of like that egg shape. Now, it's significantly flatter than Darlington, but you do have to drive each end of this racetrack very differently. Oh, as here come our first of the leaders to pit lane. Chris Hill, James Watson will be the first to pit lane. Man, these guys keeping up a ton of speed. Looks like both drivers clear on pit entry. We'll see if you'll see a black flag display next to their name. Watson will be the first to hit his box. Hill quickly into his. Car not up on the jacks. Hill down and away, as is Watson. 4.1, 4.2. The times of the stop. Now Murray Damon on pit lane. Vic Aldrich, your race leader. When will he make his final pit stop? Damon all the way from basically shotgun on the field. He's the last car that got into his box. 4.3 seconds, the time of the stop for Damon. Here comes Vic Aldrich, race leader, on to pit lane. Really had to work to get that car woed up. Aldrich hits the box. How long will he be stopped for? 5.1 seconds, the time of the stop for Vic Aldrich. He'll lose the race lead to Chris Hill and James Watson. Really aggressive pit out there that time. by Vic Aldrich. And that's going to put Drujin Wang back into the podium spots. He has to hit pit lane
JJ's
now.
pitting.
Watson able to clear Hill with 3 minutes remaining. Almost to the point where we would not go back to green flag racing if a caution were to fly. The field is so spaced out, I just don't see that happening at this point, though. Watson clears. Hill tucked right up under the rear attenuator, and Watson down the front straightaway. So now, if you're Chris Hill, kind of have nothing to fight for at this point. Second is good enough. I know it's not ever good enough. You want the race win. But he is right where he needs to be to claim a TNT Shock Series championship. Ooh, Hill little slide wide, exiting turn number 2 that time. Only other battle on the racetrack right now, Murray Damon and Vic Aldrich in the battle for third. Inside of 90 seconds remaining in the fall TNT Shock Series season. James Watson, your race leader. Chris Hill in line to be your champion with a second place finish tonight. Hill's going to have the look. Inside of 1 minute to go. If they get back with less than 30 seconds to go, it will be the white flag next time by. "34 seconds remain on the clock. Should be right about 2 to go. Watson able to hold on to the lead. Damon able to hold off Vic Aldrich by 3 car lengths as they exited turn 2. When does Chris Hill make the move? 10 seconds are left on the clock. This time by, drivers will see the white flag. 1 lap to go here at Gateway. Hill with the big dive down into 1. Oh, he clips the apron, slides up the racetrack. Watson holds the lead off at 2. Chris Hill nearly threw a championship away. Into 3 and 4 for the final time. Oh, Watson up the racetrack. Hill's right with him. Big crossover coming from Hill. Drag race to the line. Who's it going to be? Chris Hill. Chris Hill, your race winner. And your 2024 fall season champion. What a finish. One timing and scoring screen says no margin of victory. Looks like 19 thousandths of a second to Chris Hill, your race winner. What a finish!
That was incredible.
Wow, what a show out of Chris Hill and James Watson. while Chris Hill burns the house down here. Knocks the front wing off the car. You might as well junk it. You're done with it for the season. Let's take a look at your race results. Chris Hill by 19 thousandths of a second over James Watson. Vic Aldrich rounds out the podium finishers. How about it? 1/1000th between Vic Aldrich and Murray Damon. 2 photo finishes. Dave Sparks completes the top 5. Simon Feld, Mike Long, Drew Bernardi rounding out the 8 cars on the lead lap. Drew Jin Wang finishing in the 9th place, 1 lap down. Peter Donchak coming back from the incident early in the race. He will finish in position number 10. Stephen C. Thompson, Ben Carswell, AJ Camargo, Wes Shire, Brian Labarge back through 15th. All these drivers having incidents, along with 16th place Daniel Miglin. Justin Elliott, did not start here this evening. Now, of note, I'm hearing in the comments, Nate is checking in, saying in iRacing, it says the 60 is third, but your scoring has him fourth, so which is it? Good question. I think we'll talk to them both. I honestly don't know the answer to that question. I am seeing, actually, now it's updated. Well, okay. I am seeing Vic Aldrich finishing 1.978 seconds back. Murray Damon, 1.979. That's ridiculous. Let's get Chris Hill and Murray Damon up here. First, let's talk to, let's bring Vic and Murray into the booth here with us because, gentlemen, we are going to see this for the first time. We were focusing on the photo finish for the win, and then all of a sudden, you guys just let all hell break loose. Talk us through, Vic, we'll come to you first. What happened on that last lap? That was a fantastic finish.
Yeah, I mean, Murray and I think we were just trying to stay in line together and hopefully try to catch the 2 leaders. After the pit stops, we kind of fell back a bit, but I was just riding behind him, and that was my plan to do until the last lap. I'm sure Murray knew that too. And I was just hanging out though, and then on the last corner just made my move, and I kind of wanted to wait till the front straightaway, but I had the option in turn 3, and Murray almost got me back on the outside, so it was really cool, really fun, good racing, and clean racing too, so it was good.
Yeah, and Murray, you had, I'm going to call it the drive of the night. Started shotgun on the field, involved in an early incident, just absolutely fantastic drive for you tonight. Congratulations on it.
I appreciate that. It was fun driving with Vic at the end. I kind of knew it was coming. I'm curious how that's being scored because on my thing it says 0.978 for both of us, so it's like a dead heat. Fair and square though, he got me. I washed up the track a bit too much in 3 and 4, and I should know better, but this was the first race where I feel like these cars just kind of clicked for me. It was a ton of fun. It was fun just being up front, being around people. So yeah, happy to be a part of it.
Well, and then the contact with James there, using up every bit of that grizzled graphics machine. Gentlemen, congratulations to both of you. I'm going to say it's a dead heat for third. I don't know that it just updated again. It's showing 0.000 for the difference in timing and scoring. That's fantastic. A dead heat for third to round out the season. Congratulations on it, both of you, gentlemen. Thank you much for coming up here to chat with us. That's awesome. Let's bring in our runner-up finisher tonight here, Mr. James Watson. And James, ultimately 1 position shy, and I don't know how you could have done anything different here tonight.
Yeah, it just barely ran out of gas at the end, and yeah, just a microcosm of the season. Just couldn't catch a break. Is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, and eventually, I guess once the attrition starts to come into play, it's almost like the realization sets in that maybe this is it's not going to happen purely because there's not enough cars to separate us.
Yep. Once again, just couldn't catch a break. Just That's what's kind of frustrating about this season to have the pace that I've had this season and just couldn't catch a break.
Well, good season for you, James. Congratulations on it. Second place finish here tonight, second in the championship. And before we let you go, get any of the sponsor plugs and shout-outs in for us here, brother.
Yeah, I got to thank everyone at Team Watson Racing Setups. Use code Watsman39 for 10% off at checkout. Boomer Button Boxes, you and everyone else at the National Racing Network. Martin Sports Sim Racing Apparel, ZS Designs, and Dizzy V Designs for putting together my paints, and my folks for watching at home.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you much. We appreciate you coming to hang out with us here in the booth. And now it's time to talk to our race winner tonight, Mr. Chris Hill. Not only our race winner, but our 2024 fall season TNT Shock Series champion. Chris, congratulations. Congratulations on a fantastic season. Talk us through what you're thinking right now.
Man, I'm stoked. I mean, I'm really happy to have pulled it off, and awesome to race James to the finish there of the final race too. I know he had a little bad luck throughout the season, and so it's unfortunate it wasn't a little closer in the points from that standpoint. But really enjoyed racing everybody and racing this car this season. It's first time dabbling in it, and it's been a blast. So I'm definitely going to come back for the spring version to see if I can't defend and maybe learn a thing or two more about it, because boy, last week was a nightmare, and I just saw the championship going away, and I even was thinking it was going to be like that tonight until qualifying just magically found a lap, and then all of a sudden we're as competitive. So couldn't be happier.
And tonight's race played out kind of interesting. You guys made the call to stop under the first yellow of the race. And then we had the next one that was the next stop kind of came close to the halfway point. Did the issue with the potential for the quickie yellow and not being able to stop factor into your decision to stop with about 5 minutes remaining?
Absolutely. No, I mean, I knew that I didn't have enough to make it. I mean, maybe I would have had enough fuel economy if a caution came out to have like limped around, but I wasn't willing to take that risk. And fortunately, James and I were on basically the same strategy. So, it ended up kind of being the right call to do that. And I guess the main thing that gave me the win at the line there was he sputtered across the line, is what it sounds like. So I think otherwise he would have had me just at the line. So, I mean, I'm not the greatest with the oval strategy. It's not something I've done a lot of thinking about and planning on. So I tend to just kind of follow somebody else who I'm competing against, and whenever I try to do something different, I usually throw away any chance at a victory. So it just kind of worked out tonight, and I'm definitely happy about that.
This one was it was a fantastic race and a great season for you, Chris. Congratulations on it. And before we let you go, get all those sponsor plugs and shout outs that you want to get in here for us.
Well, definitely got to thank James and his shop, Team Watson Racing. They a great group of guys, and I mean, heck, I wouldn't be on the grid here without them. There's so much that they've done for me in the sim racing world, and it's just for almost nothing in return, other than just maybe representing the shop a little bit here and there, and just fortunate to be a part of that group. And couldn't find a better group of guys. Not to mention they know how to make a setup or two. And big thanks to Wes for putting on the series, and for you guys for broadcasting it and such. It's fun. I mean, it's not, the fields are decent size, but even no matter how deep they are, it's strong. Like, it's not just like you got like one guy to battle with. It's a pretty strong field in general, and so it's a lot of fun. It's challenging. It's not the easiest car in the world. So, and then of course, Precision Racing Instruction. That's my instruction company. I do that on when I'm not working at the BMW Performance Center. And basically, yeah, I've been working on a bunch of stuff. I wish I would had it all ready to release here, but I've got some exciting stuff in the future. So we'll let everybody know once we got the book ready to go and all the other stuff. And but if you're looking for some help or some coaching or anything along those lines, feel free to reach out. So yeah, looking forward to next season. Thanks for everything, guys.
Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming to hang out with us here in the booth for a couple of minutes. And man, Bizzle, we got it all tonight, man. We'll let Chris Hill doing the burnouts be the closeout to the show here. But of note, there are 2 incidents on lap 45 that are still up for officials review. That will take place post race. But man, just. It's funny. Sometimes you get these races where you go, oh man, this is kind of a wreck fest. And you think you're not going to get anything great out of it. And then the racing gods do their thing and you get just an incredible show that we saw here. 2-1 photo true tie between Vic Aldrich and Murray Damon and 19 thousandths separating for the win. I don't know what else you can ask for.
Yeah, that was unbelievably close for the win. I haven't even taken a peek at the battle for third. I don't know if you want to throw a replay of that up just one more time because I have not actually seen that dead heat.
Let's see. Let's pull this back and let's find, well, I got to find my cursor first. There it is. Let's take a look. There we go. And I think we'll do this from the rear chase camera just so we can get a true peek at it. But so this is Vic Aldrich exiting turn number 2. So we're following Vic here, and the run he got through turns 3 and 4 was absolutely incredible. And I will do my best to stop on the mark, or at least very, very close to the mark, because this was truly an incredible race. Big dive into 3 and 4 by Vic Aldrich. Murray Damon, I don't know that there's anything else he could have done. Vic made and committed to that inside lane. Murray holds the outside knowing that you're going to have the momentum advantage, especially when you get to the midpoint of the corner here in 3 and 4. It just kind of everything shook out exactly the way you want to see it.
Yeah, I mean, from looking at this right here, I am not sure that Murray Damon even has a shot.
No, that was it. It was all the momentum coming off the corner. And let's see.
You can see he's just reeling him in.
Yeah. And there it is, or at least very close to it anyway. Oh, and then there we go. It's going to kick us all the way back to the beginning. So, man, just once again, incredible show out of the TNT Shock Series guys here. I guess, Bizzle, it kind of whets the appetite here. We get through the holidays, we come back in January, and we're going to run a nice big long schedule for these, not a little short 6-race season.
Yeah, I can't wait for the full-length season. Definitely, it makes it a lot easier on the drivers as well, being only 6 weeks. James Watson, probably the races he finished really, really well, but just had 2 bad races and unfortunately left him just shy of the championship. With only 6 races, you have to be dead on the mark every single week. With a full-length season, you have those opportunities to have a bad week here and there, but it's the consistency over the season that matters more than just being dead on the money each and every week.
Yeah, and the big one there is they had a drop week. Watson had 2. Versus the 1 for Chris Hill, and that's really what decided the championship.
Yeah, and unfortunately in a short season like this, it's been said before, you can't judge a driver just based on one race. It's so easy to have one race go wrong. It's so easy to have 2 races go wrong. You have to judge a driver on a full season. I don't think we could judge anyone here on this 6-week season. Chris Hill, want to give him props for unofficially winning the championship. I'm fairly certain it's going to happen, though, but we have to take a couple admin reviews of a couple incidents. But other than that, really good season so far. Definitely making me excited for the rest of the season. Rest of next season.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it, and we'll see. I think we'll be back. We'll see. Maybe I'll turn the reins over to somebody else, and I'll get back in the race car. We'll see. But I'm looking forward to it, and a whole lot, possibly more, coming up here on the National Racing Network for 2025 season 1, and we have an extra week to think about things and get things all settled, because there is a week 14. That'll be 2 weeks of shenanigans coming up here. 2 weeks of Fastmasters type stuff. If you're in the know, you know, and if you don't, join the TNT Discord. We'll get the link up in the comments. With that, we're getting the hell out of here. For Bizzle and everybody else here at the National Racing Network that gets these shows on the air, my name is Chris Graham. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we will talk to you all soon. Have a great night, everybody.